Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Medellín. Muy bonito la luna hoy, ¿no? Entonces, el tema de hoy, también siguiente con el video de ayer. am, Ahora nosotros identificamos cosas que han sido practicadas. Solo el tema de hoy es entonces, ¿cuándo? Y para cuánto tiempo es ideal para no perder la memoria con los nuevos vocabularios o palabras. Ese es el tema de hoy. So, hello from Medellin. Theme for the day, carrying on from what we've talked about the last couple of days. So we've now identified some problem areas, perhaps, things we need to improve. We've looked at how we can do that in the sense of particular targeted practice, in the sense of we have dialogues that are going to work in a particular situation, or we're going to target a very particular point that we know we get confused. But the question now really comes down to, well, what's the ideal time to practice? When should you revise this kind of thing? Is there a better time to do that? How often should you revise for? And how does that help you with remembering the stuff? Is there a frequency you need to practice that so you don't forget it? That's the theme of the day. Well, the quick answer really is there's no real ideal time to do the practice. It's probably when you have time is more important, I think, honestly. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be nice to do this in the morning when you've got no distraction and your energy is high. But if we're realistic about it, this might be something we're trying to fit around other things we're trying to do. So for that reason, try and keep the practice exercises small. Simplify them. Make them as easy as possible. Only 1 or 2 sentences really to practice, because then there's no real excuse. You can fit that in to almost any part of your day. In those odd tea breaks you get when you're travelling on the bus, on the tube, something like that. Those moments when you don't have to concentrate on anything particularly, it's something you can run through in your mind just to refresh your memory. So that will be really the first thing to look at. Maybe somewhere within your given week you have a bit of time, like an hour or so, when you can really focus on the problem that you've looked at. Okay, I know I need to improve these areas. These are the conversations I had where it didn't work. Let's look at better ways to say it. Once you've got that material written down, I suggest split that up into something much smaller. Really very small phrases, sentences. Maybe something you can put on a flashcard. I always found flashcards very helpful for this kind of thing, because you only need to carry around sort of half a dozen of those, and in any given 5-10 minute break you get, you can quickly flick through those, read through the line, see if you remember it, can you repeat it, and then check the card, did you get it right? Yes, no. Usually within about a week of practicing that every day, you've normally got most of those cards memorized. Another thing to remember is to really visualize very strongly where you're going to be or who you're going to be talking to when you're using this dialogue. This is very helpful as well, because once you start linking these things together, particularly if you have a very powerful visual kind of image of where you're going to use this dialogue, you should find lots of these useful words will more easily come to mind. All you need to do is think about the situation or the location you're going to be in, and you should get a lot more of that vocabulary come back to you without too much effort, because you're effectively visualizing the room you need to use this in. That's an interesting technique to try. But generally, yeah, keep it simple. make the material you're going to use something that really 30 seconds a minute should be all it takes for you to read it through once at least. So that way you've got lots of opportunity during the day to read that through. If you try and turn it into like, I've got a whole page of text I need to work through, unless you have already blocked out very specific chunks of your day to sit down and read it, you might find that more difficult. So I would recommend perhaps picking a more simple, more easily repeated selection of phrases that you can maybe run through 4 or 5 times during the day when you have odd moments, because over the course of the week all of those moments will add up, and then when you get towards the end of the week, when you have maybe your hour of actual time when you can really focus on it, you go back and review it, see how many of these you need to carry over into the next week, and ideally work on some new ones for the following week and see how you go. So that's the idea with that, really. If, like me, you find your schedule isn't as forgiving as perhaps it could be to give you lots of free space to spend hours on practicing, keep the material you're going to use simple. So then it's much easier just to practice that briefly during those odd moments you get during the day, but still structure it, still have a purpose, like I'm going to practice these 5 sentences every day this week. Because then by the end of the week, you'll have practiced that 20, 30 times at least probably, which should be more than enough. You've got most of that down into your memory. So that's the tip for the day. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, from Medellin, we'll say cheerio.